So, have you ever thought about what happens when you take the rules from one super specialized field and just plug them into a totally different one? I'm not talking about a metaphor, I mean using it as the actual operating system. Well, today we're going to dive into a case study that does exactly that. It takes the super rigid, don't mess up principles of industrial engineering and applies them to the wild, chaotic world of finance.
It's a weird question, isn't it? Can you really build a financial strategy like you'd build a bridge? Something physical, something that's meant to be stable and last forever? How does that possibly apply to the crazy up and down world of the financial markets? Well, that's the big idea we're going to unpack.
I mean, just look at these two worlds. On one side, you've got industrial safety. Everything is about zero deviation, absolute compliance, making sure physical things don't break. Failure is just not an option. And then on the other side, you've got fintech. It's all about volatility, speculation, and this kind of abstract digital logic. They're like oil and water, right? They couldn't seem more opposite.
But what if someone actually lived and breathed at the intersection of these two worlds? Well, that's what this is all about. We're looking at a case study of an analytical system designer named Somu Sundaram Murugiah, and his whole career is basically a bridge between these two completely different domains.
And the concept that connects everything for him is something he calls the mechanical mindset. It's a way of looking at financial analysis not as some game of chance or probability, but as a straight-up discipline of reliability and structure.
So what on earth does that actually mean? Well, the mechanical mindset is basically this. You treat market data with the exact same seriousness and logic that you would in high-stakes industrial safety. Imagine applying the principles of building a nuclear reactor to your financial charts. It's about bringing engineering-level rigor to financial chaos.
And this quote, this is where it really clicks. I build financial models that do not break. I mean, in a world where financial models seem to blow up all the time, that's an incredibly bold statement. And it's a claim that comes directly from an engineering worldview, not a financial one.
Okay, so how does this actually work? How does this mindset become a real strategy? Well, it's not just some vague idea. It's a direct one-to-one translation of industrial principles into actual financial tools.
And this table just lays it out perfectly. So you take an industrial idea like preventive maintenance, right? Where you're constantly checking for wear and tear to stop a machine from breaking. In finance, that becomes creating risk-adjusted safety valves, basically automatic stops to prevent a total financial meltdown. Or how about non-destructive testing? In industry, that means the inspection record is permanent. In finance, that translates to engineering non-repainting signals, indicators that don't change after the fact, so they're completely transparent and auditable. And the big one, zero deviation compliance. That industrial mandate becomes constraint-driven engineering in finance, building models that are so robust, they just don't break.
But here's the cool part. This mindset isn't stuck in the past. It's getting supercharged by modern technology, especially AI. Artificial intelligence is acting like this massive force multiplier for the whole approach.
And you can see his street cred in both worlds, right here. On the left, you've got an award from the huge financial platform TradingView, calling him a chart-bound pilgrim because he's on there so much. Then on the right, you see an archetype given to him by OpenAI, the architect, which means he's a sophisticated user of their AI for system design. He's got a foot planted firmly in both camps. And when we say he's on there a lot, we are not kidding. Get this, he spent 322 days inside the TradingView tradingverse in a single year. That's almost every single day. That is an absolutely incredible level of dedication and deep immersion.
And remember that architect title from OpenAI we just mentioned? Well, it turns out that's a pretty big deal. Only 3.9% of all OpenAI users fall into that category. So this isn't just a unique point of view he has, it's a demonstrably rare way of thinking and building things.
Now, this is a really important distinction to understand his approach today. He doesn't see himself as a coder. He's a system architect. He's the one who designs the blueprint, the logic, the constraints, the whole shebang. And then he uses these powerful large language models as a tool to actually build and test out his vision.
So let's just zoom out for a second. What this all adds up to is this idea of a deterministic architect. It's someone who's harnessing the power of applying a totally foreign, super rigorous logic to solve problems in a field that most people think of as anything but logical. So, to wrap it all up, this whole philosophy is about building systems with constraint-driven engineering.
It's about taking those zero-deviation standards from a factory floor and applying them to squiggly lines on a chart. And what you get in the end are financial tools defined not by risky bets, but by pure reliability and structure. It's pretty amazing proof that a mechanical mindset really can bring some serious order to chaos.
And that really leaves us with one big question to think about. We've just seen how the logic of building bridges can totally transform an approach to finance. So the question for you is, what kind of engineering logic from some other completely unrelated field could you use to transform your world?